Debt is dangerous. That's what most people believe. Stay away from it, avoid it, fear it. But what if the same thing you're afraid of is the exact tool rich people use to get richer? And what if avoiding debt completely is actually the thing keeping you stuck? So why do wealthy people use debt while everyone else tries to avoid it? And is debt actually bad, or are we just using it the wrong way? What's the one difference that turns debt into a weapon instead of a trap? Because once you understand this, your entire perspective on money changes. If you want to understand how money really works, consider subscribing to Saul Invest. At first, this seems obvious. Debt feels like a burden. You borrow money and then you owe it back, with interest. So naturally, it feels like something to avoid. Most people are taught this from a young age. Stay out of debt. Debt will ruin your life. And honestly, in many cases, that advice is correct. But here's the illusion: not all debt is the same. And treating all debt the same is one of the biggest financial mistakes people make. But here's the problem: most people only experience one type of debt. Bad debt. Credit cards, car loans, buy now, pay later, things that lose value but still cost money. Debt isn't the problem, how you use it is. In today's world, debt is easier than ever. One click and you're approved. No friction, no thinking. Everything is designed to make borrowing feel normal. Spending feels easy, but the cost is hidden. You don't feel the full impact immediately. But over time, it builds, and that's where people get trapped. But this is only part of the story. What most people don't realize is that the system is built to push you into bad debt. Because bad debt makes money for others. Interest payments, fees, late charges. The longer you stay in debt, the more money the system makes from you. You're not just borrowing money, you're entering a system designed to keep you paying. And the worst part is, it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels normal. That's why most people never question it. Imagine two people, both take debt, same amount, same situation, but completely different outcomes. Person A uses debt to buy a car. The moment they drive it, it starts losing value, but the loan stays the same. Month after month, they keep paying for something that's worth less and less. Now look at person B. They use debt to buy an asset, something that generates income, real estate, a small business, something that grows over time. Instead of losing money, they're creating it. Now here's where everything changes. Rich people don't avoid debt. They understand it. Debt is a tool, not a trap, and like any tool, it depends on how you use it. They use debt to buy assets, assets that generate income, assets that increase in value, and that income pays off the debt. This is called leverage, and it's one of the most powerful concepts in finance. Poor people use debt to consume, rich people use debt to produce. That's the real difference. Here's something most people never think about. When rich people use debt, they're not risking everything. They're calculating, they understand risk, they manage it. And most importantly, they use debt to create more income streams. So even if one thing fails, others continue working. That's control. And control is what separates average people from wealthy ones. So what can you actually do? First, understand the difference between good debt and bad debt. If it doesn't make you money, it's probably costing you. Second, avoid borrowing for things that lose value. Short-term satisfaction often leads to long-term stress. Third, focus on assets, things that grow, things that produce income. Fourth, think long-term, not just about today, but about where your decisions lead. The goal isn't to avoid debt, it's to control it. If this is helping you see money differently, make sure you're subscribed to Saul Invest. Here's the truth: debt is not your enemy. Ignorance is. What you borrow for defines your financial future. Once you understand how money really works, everything changes. Your mindset changes, your decisions change, and your future changes. If you want to think like the wealthy, this is just the beginning. Watch this next. Backhand index pointing right. And if you're serious about escaping the system most people stay stuck in, subscribe to Saul Invest and start thinking differently today.